We are? Okay. Someone just messaged me that they can't see it on Facebook. I'm really having difficulties today for some reason. Okay, guys. So first of all, if we could, let's type something in the chat that you are grateful for today. And I'm going to start by saying that I am very grateful to be healthy, because I don't know about you guys, but I know a lot of sick people right now. Oh, I'm not here for this whole second wave thing. But I know several people that are sick. So grateful to be healthy this morning. Would love to hear a couple things in the chat that you guys are grateful for. Okay, thank you, Michelle. Yes, back to seeing you on Wednesdays. I'm grateful to be back and happy to see you guys. And I saw Jeff Boyle yesterday, Michelle, and he said, you said, tell me hi. I said, tell you hi. So that was great. Good health. Yep. Dawn, same. 5 minutes ago, Dawn, I hope you had a good one. Oh, Jim, I'm so glad that you're on. Awesome. Amanda, vacation. We're going to actually talk about that for a little bit this morning. So that will be hopefully that'll give you something to think about while you're on vacation. So I recently listened actually to a sermon this past Sunday by Craig Rochelle, and it's a new series that he's doing. And even honestly, if you're not a person of faith, I think you should still listen to it, because I learned so much. He's doing a new series called When You Don't Like Who You're Becoming, There's a Better Way. And it's not necessarily like, are you don't like who you're becoming because you're on drugs or anything like that. This was all about how you control your time and your habits. And I don't know about you guys. Well, some of you guys I've had conversations with recently, and I do know that that you felt the same way, but our time is insanely busy. And I've been trying to not use the word busy, but say you're highly scheduled, which sounds so much better. And this was all about this. And so he has been sharing a lot of things about this book, which in the last 2 days, I've listened to the whole thing, except for I think I have 23 minutes left. And it's called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Mark Comer. And I'm going to share with you a couple of things from this book that I've learned over the last, I've been doing a lot of driving the last couple of days. So I've been listening to it in the car, and it's fascinating. And if any of you feel like you are hurried or rushed 24/7, I would highly encourage you listening to this book on Audible. Even if you just listen to it when you're driving, like I have been. I am learning so much stuff, starting with this. This is obviously a goldfish. Troy Marsh, you're going to freak out over that book. So just be prepared. I don't know about you guys. I never was a big fish person. Every time I had fish, they die. Every time I had hamsters, they died too. That's a whole nother story. Some of you know that about me and some of you don't, but I accidentally killed 2 hamsters when I was little. One, I just had gotten it, and I loved it so much that I squeezed it and it killed it. Yeah. Not a proud moment. And then the other time it got loose and it got trapped behind the stove, and we baked cookies and it fried. So I don't deal well with small things, including fish. However, what I learned recently about a goldfish is that a goldfish has the attention span for an average attention span of 9 seconds. Did you know that last year, this last study that was done, the average American has an attention span of 8 seconds? You guys, goldfish now have a longer attention span than we do as human beings, which I found at first funny, and second, a little bit sad, and very interesting. And I think that you guys would probably agree it's because of this. And number one, and number two, all of the things that we have going on in our life. And I just totally was that awakened me to think of a whole nother mindset shift around our attention span and our hurriness. And I'm the first to say, I rolled in here on 2 wheels this morning. I had to drive to Richmond, and I wanted to make sure I got here to do this. And I walked in at 8:59, and I woke up at 5, but I still got here at 8:59. And I feel like it's now more than ever. It's so crazy. And so one of the things that he talked about that I found fascinating, is what wealthy means. And so I want to see if you guys agree with me and would love to hear your thoughts in the chat on this. So he said, back in the day, and you may say back in the day, I'm going to say probably 80s, 90s, maybe even probably not 2000s, probably 80s and 90s. We determined someone as wealthy by they got to leave, they left work early and they played golf in the afternoons, or they were a member of a country club and they went and played tennis, or they had these big elaborate vacations, once a year, or they saved and they were wealthy and they went out of the country, once every 5 years or whatever. That's what we used to say. We used to define wealthy people as, they were having dinner at the country club. Now we define wealthy as you're jetting off in your private plane to go to your next meeting or to be on your next reality show, or you're now wealthy when you have your own cosmetic line, or you're wealthy when you have a yacht, or you're wealthy when you're working 80 hours a week and you are this big, successful, amazing person, and you get up to 10 million followers, on your social media. Like our perspective and our viewpoint of wealth and how we spend our time and how we spend our life has drastically changed over the last decade. And it's fascinating when you read this book or listen to it, or even do some of these studies on that. Just totally curious in the chat. Do you guys feel like that, or do you agree with that now that it's been brought to your attention that how we define wealth is like totally different than how we did before? Would love to hear your feedback on that. So one of the biggest things that they also talk about, yeah, Jim, I totally agree. One of the biggest things that they also talk about is knowing when you're at your best, so that whatever your definition of, Jim, it's the ruthless elimination of hurry, the ruthless elimination of hurry by John Mark Comer. We might be able, Heather, maybe you could post that in the chat if we can. Thank you. You can get it on Amazon or Audible or whatever. Yes, thanks. Thank you. Thank you, Shane. So he talks about when you're at your best, and some of you I shared this with already, but I want to go a little bit deeper. So it's called a stress spiral. And you know that you are in a stress spiral when you think about these three words: overwhelmed, overcommitted, and or overworked. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you might be miserable in your life at the time. You just might feel a higher level of stress. Like Dawn and I have talked about this, that she's super busy right now, and she probably has a little bit of stress with it, and she's happy and she's blessed and she's like, at a great point in her life. So it doesn't necessarily mean, sorry, Dawn, thanks. I hope it's okay. I used you as an example. You don't necessarily mean that you're like ready to crawl under the covers and never come out for 2 weeks, but you still feel this level of stress. Some of you may feel like that. You may feel like this is the most stressed you've ever been, and we're back to school and, all this other COVID stuff, and everything is crazy. So overwhelmed means too much to do. Overcommitted means you've said yes to too many people or too many things. Overworked means you used to go to the office and now the office goes to you. And I definitely know some of you, hopefully, can agree with me that you felt like that before. And so when this happens, you're constantly thinking of an escape. And he uses the example of, you know what, I'm just going to forget it all and go live at the beach, or I'm just going to forget it all and go start making a jewelry business, or I'm just going to forget it all and go open a coffee shop. Or someone that I know in Charleston, they said, I just want to like go be a plant lady and buy all these plants and have all these plants. I'm like, I definitely don't think I could do that. I can barely keep the ones alive that I have. But so you feel like that you are constantly thinking of an escape when you're in a stress spiral. And the reason is because your priorities get hijacked by other people, whether it's your clients or your team or people that you lead or your kids' sporting events or whatever that looks like. Your main priorities for your life and your business become hijacked by everybody else. And it flip-flops. Like, to be completely transparent, this morning, my morning got hijacked by other people, and it was important and I did it, but it also hijacked my morning and made me roll in here on two wheels. And so it happens, right? And sometimes we don't even know when it's happening, but that's what creates burnout. And then what you want to do is do everything you can to avoid burnout, because when you get to a burnout spot, you can lose your passion for something. And when you're really great at something and you're passionate about it, you don't want to actually lose that. And so he says that more responsibility is what we have now, but with no more time. So I'm going to kind of probably butcher this, but he shares this research study that they did, that in 1985, the United States did this whole big, our country did this survey, and I don't remember how many thousands of Americans that they surveyed, but whatever it was, just go with me. They said by 1995, because of everything that's instant that was happening, microwaves and faster cars and computers and different cell phones and all this other stuff, that by 1995, the things that were happening that were instant should give every average American 4 weeks back of their life every single year because of the instant stuff. When in reality, we have more instant stuff than ever, yet we have less time than we ever have. And the average American is working 22 hours more per week than what they ever have before. And that is what creates a stress spiral, which is crazy. And let's just, like, for fun, raise your hand if you feel like you're working more now than you ever have before. Just like your little hands on the screen. Some of you. Yes. Okay. Yep. Okay. It's just me and Robert and Jen Courtright. Okay. So, so we're the crazy ones. So the reality is that what he says is it's very difficult for us to say no to things because we're in this cycle where we feel like we have to be everything to everybody. So we have to, number one, know what your personal response is to stress. So do you tend to work more? Do you tend to try to control everything? Do you tend to shut down? Do you tend to go do meaningless things like color coordinate your bookshelves and get them into Roy G. Biv order? Or do you eat, or do you not eat? Or do you, over exercise, or do you not exercise? Like, what are the things that you do when you are responding to stress? We have to know those things first, so that then we can move into a thrive cycle. And this is the part that I really liked. And this is where I want you to think about for your mindset. So the thrive cycle, it involves these different 5 parts of your life: your finance, the financially part of your life, the spiritual part of your life, the physical, the relational, and the emotional. And here's what he says to think about when you're thinking about the financial part of your life. So if you're moving out of the stress spiral from overwhelmed, overcommitted, overworked, you're moving out of the stress spiral, but you're moving into the thrive cycle. When you think about all of these things, you have to think about, when are you at your very best? And so the thing that I love about this book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, again, for those of you still popping on, the thing that I love about this is he says, we're probably never going to be the best in all 5 of these at the same time. The goal is to be aware. And then the thing with financially, he says, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're rich, but do you have margins? Meaning it's not about what you make, it's about what you have. And then spiritually, everybody has some sort of spirituality, no matter what you believe in. Physically, with your health, relationally, with number one, your spouse and your kids and your family or your significant other. And then the people that you're in business with, and then your friendships. A lot of times our friendships start to go out the window when we're in a stress cycle. And then just emotionally. So here's what he says about this. And I love this part. You have to break down for yourself what are your green zone, your yellow zone, and your red zone. Your green zone is when you are at your very best. For some of you, that may be you're a morning person. And so from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., you're at your very best. You may need to wake up and have coffee and get your day going. And then you're at your best in like the mid-afternoon. Some of you may be night owls and you're at your best in the evening, but you have to figure out when are you at your best? The study, and in this book, it says every person, we typically only have about 3 to 5 hours a day that we are at our really, really best in our green zone. That's it. You're probably not going to get more than 3 to 5 hours a day. These are when you have your best ideas, your best thoughts. You do your most important work, not your urgent work, but your most important work. And there's a big difference in that. And your highest value activity that brings to your role. So whatever it is that you're doing, your most important work has to be done in your green zone when you're at your very best. Your red zone is the 1 to 2 hours when you're totally done. For me, typically I kind of hit a wall between like 3 and 5. Sometimes it just depends. And so that can be my red zone, or honestly, it's usually when I get home as my red zone for a little bit. I'm done. I need to go for a walk or do whatever. he says that if this is your time, like when you need coffee or you need to like take a nap or you need to exercise, that's when you know your red zone is. That's when you need to do things that are your lowest task priority. Because when you're doing your best things in your green zone, your mindset is in such a better place. And then your yellow zone is everything in between. So he gives an example of, he has a podcast. John Mark Comer does. He has a podcast. And so he gives the example of prepping for his he has actually it was Craig Groeschel, I think, that gave this example. He has a huge podcast. For those of you that don't listen, you should. But he said that prepping for his podcast is like one of his most important activities of the week. So he has to prep for his podcast when he's in his green zone, which for him is the early morning. He does his most important activities in the early morning, but then he records his podcast like in a yellow zone, because, or maybe sometimes even in a red zone, because he already has prepped for it. So he knows what to do. So he doesn't have to actually do the activity in the green zone. He can do the activity in the yellow or red, but he has to prep for it in the green. And then what we do after this, and this is highly affects your mindset, is getting your schedule in this direction. So getting to the point where whatever your most important stuff is, you're doing it when you're in your green zone. And mine is going to be different than Robert's, than Michelle's, than like everybody's may be different. You have to know when your green zone is, and then schedule your stuff into that. One of the things that he said that I love so much were these two quotes. The first one is, we think when you're a leader that you need to bend to everyone else's schedule, and that's not true. And remember, every one of us are a leader. Like, we're either leading our family, or we're leading a team, or we might be leading hundreds of people. You might be leading your clients. You're all leading somebody. And when you are a leader, you think that you have to bend to everyone else's schedule. And really, that's not true. The best thing that you can bring to your team, your family, your people, whoever, is your energy. Your clients, whoever it is that you're leading, the best thing that you can bring is your energy. And he talked a lot about, he said, a lot of times we say, we just need a vacation. We just got to go on a vacation. I've said that a million times. And then we come back and nothing is different. And so here's one of the quotes that John Mark Comer says in the book. He says, time off won't heal you when your problem is how you spend your time on. And I know some of you have been going on vacations lately. Some of you are getting ready to go on vacations. And that really hit me, because I thought, oh my gosh, it's so true. I just came back from the Bahamas, as a lot of you guys know. And it was like Monday was right back into it. And while I was so appreciative and loved my time on vacation, I really was thinking about how I spend my time on, and not necessarily when I'm off. And the difference that makes when you're in that mindset. So I would highly encourage you to think about that. I don't know if that gave anybody else ahas besides me, but I thought that was just huge. And then not necessarily bending to everybody else's schedule, but really thinking about, when are you in your green zone? And then how are you doing with the thrive cycle? And then also, how do you respond to stress? What is your response? Do you shut down? Do you push harder? Do you try to control it? Do you try to ignore it? Do you, fade to black for a week? I don't know. Sometimes when I'm super stressed, I just like can't even look at my phone for like a couple hours. So you have to know really, truly how you respond to stress. And then the other thing I just really want you to think about is really what you're focusing on, because this whole goldfish thing freaked me out. So what are we actually focusing on, and what is our attention span like for right now? So, can you guys hear me? It says unstable connection. Oh no.
We can hear you, just don't see you. Yeah, you're back.
Okay, weird. Sorry. Thanks, guys. It says unstable internet. Hopefully that gave you guys a little bit of a different perspective and way to think about things this morning. Am I back now?
You're good. We can hear you. Nope, just kidding.
You're not talking.
We'll wrap it up.
There you are.
Sorry, I'm losing internet, I think. Shoot, sorry, Heather. Thanks for telling me. Anyway, sorry guys. I was just saying, I hope that gave you something different to think about today for the rest of your week. And I would just encourage you to, if you feel like you're in a stress spiral, go listen to that book and really think about the hurry that you are in and maybe some changes that you can make. So I hope that this was helpful. And I love seeing you guys, and I hope you have a great rest of your Wednesday. Thank you, Monica. See you guys later. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks,
thank you.
Milton.
Thank you.
Thanks for being on. Bye,
you.
Rochelle. See you guys.